The reason why we are doing this course is to offer ways of being that allow you to come more fully into yourself, to remember who you are, why you're here, to give a perspective on the struggles that you're having, whether they be emotional or financial, whether they happen to do with family or friends or just cosmology, whether you feel alone, whether you are stepping into your power and moving away from a trauma that you chose as a incarnational component of your life so that you could overcome that and bring it to love. And so from my experience in the world, which is very limited, obviously, what I've come to understand is that we line ourselves up for our maximum soul embodiment. And in order to do so, as we've talked about over the years, is you need a lot of lead in order to get a lot of gold. And so the soul incarnates into density so that it can bring it home and bring it back to love. And those that have very difficult, extenuating circumstances are those old souls that have decided to say, heck, I'm going to come in and I'm going to go as deep as I can into trauma, rape, pillage, financial burden, cultural, family stuff. And I'm going to find my way through this, and I'm going to alleviate my suffering. I'm going to open and come home. And so to meet you there, the ancient tribes, including the Andean Incan tradition, have been observing and watching humanity for thousands of years, waiting for this time, knowing full well that at this time we'd be coming back to find ourselves again, and we'd need tools. And so in the 1980s, the signs start to become very apparent. And the Pacos at the time, the Altamasiacos most especially, started to come out of the mountains more obviously and starting to teach and share their teachings. A lot of that took place in personal ceremony, personal apprenticeship, and then group settings. We had gatherings, through the 90s and 2000s. That's how I first came to the tradition in 2005, was to go to an energy medicine conference down in the Sacred Valley. And at that point, I was asked to apprentice, and I was very deeply touched because I was there with 125 people. And as you know, when you're 125 to 1, the attention isn't that focused. And so over time, I accepted that offer and came more fully into myself as an apprentice there. What I had to do, and what we all have to do, is to take a really hard, honest, humble look at ourselves and realize where we're limiting ourselves, where we're struggling, where we're having a hard time, where we have forgotten how to connect with the higher aspects ourselves and call in, pray in that reality, so that which is can flow through me as that, if that makes sense to you. And so these principles, or these códigos, codices, codex, can help us to understand, to assure our prosperity, to assure our happiness. And when I say prosperity, I mean the prosperity of what it is to be fully human, what it is to be fully galactic, what it is to be in our full selves. And I know a lot of us, after these years of lockdowns and struggle and ostracizing and being the odd one out, may still be in a construct of I'm the black sheep of the family. And I want you to understand that when you assign yourself a role like a black sheep, you are very much in duality. You are very much in opposition. You are very much in suffering, us versus them, conservatives versus liberals, and then all the confusion of the transhuman, transgender thing going on in between, right? So it's confusing enough as a star being, as a soul, to incarnate in men and women's bodies and then come through and have hormones pumped through us in our foods, in our milk, things like this, which confuse even more. There's a great disparity in clarity right now. There's a great disparity in safety, in basic function, and that's part of the agenda that the wisdom keepers recognize as part of the time. It's a movement of the absence of the light, the absence of love, what is called shadow, what is called darkness. And just like in the movie Star Wars, you have the oscillations between light and dark. And so what I want you to understand is that everything is moving with you to help you. And the most difficult situations are the places where we find character and we find strength. Oftentimes we feel very alone in that. And so the foundation of these codices, these sacred teachings, are to give you means, ways, forms, reminders to go deep in yourself and to plug in and to walk through the snowstorm, if that's what it looks like for you, to walk across the desert, if that's what it looks for you, to find yourself after decades of denying yourself, denying your gender, denying your sense as a woman, denying your sense as a human, suffering at the hands of others, and then not realizing that that suffering was chosen. And so I want you to all take a deep breath and realize that you're choosing every moment. You're choosing everything you do. You're choosing the way you give away your power. You choose the way you maintain your power. You choose to be financially strapped. Even though it is very hard to accept that, everything that you're experiencing is your experience because of your perspective. And so I hope that these codices will help you to move in a way that opens a space around you so that you can find yourself more fully. So as we're waiting for Tupac to come back on, I think I'll do a little bit of meditation to center us. So what I'd like you to do is just close your eyes very gently. Open your hearts. Let go of your jaws. And then just feel yourself sitting in space, recognizing all the demands of what it is to be a mother or a father, what it is to be a boss or an employee, what it is to live in a way that allows you to be fully you. And I'd like to invite you to open and let go of your jaw and open your heart so that you can have all the space you need in your inner world, in your life, in your beauty, so that whether you're remodeling your house or remodeling your relationship or remodeling your profession, there is no threat of loss. You may have broken your leg, you may have broken your heart, you may have projected yourself, you may have been projected upon. You have suffered, you have been in a cultural repressive society below the hedge, for example. Recognize that all of that is the friction that you have chosen in order to generate this fire, and the fire lies within. And so with that, I ask you to breathe very deeply into your heart and let go. And realize that you've never been alone, that guidance has been around you constantly, that you weren't taught this or shown this necessarily, but it's here. And so as your brothers, Wamanchik and Tupac, we invite you to on a great journey into the codices, that which has been stewarded for you, passed along from Paco to Paco, over the millennia through persecution, conquest, inquisition, murder, pillage, destruction. It has been frozen in the ice crystals waiting and attended to for you. And you have made this pilgrimage to the foot of the holy mountain. And we stand there simply as your brothers, not really even as guides, but simply to say, welcome to the house, welcome to the temple, welcome to the altar. And so we will step aside and let these great mountain spirits and this Pachamama and these celestial beings convey this as they've conveyed it to us, so that we can hold it and then convey it on to you. And in doing so, you will convey it to your sons and daughters. You will convey it through your heart to your colleagues. You'll convey it by your very presence, walking through the supermarket, pumping gas, looking upon the great argument in this world. And we hope from the bottom of our heart that it helps you gain a perspective so you don't choose to suffer any longer, regardless of what circumstance you find yourself in. So I'd like to introduce to you those that do not know Tupac. Tupac Tito Contor is my beloved brother. We've been working together since 2005, when he kindly blew me off and said, wow, that's one stinky, contaminated northerner. I'm not sure I really want to work with you. And over the years, through his generosity of his heart, he has opened the door for me. as I've opened the door for many. And so we really are, to use that phrase, walking each other home. And in through this course of classes, we hope that you find yourself and remember who you are, how you are, and who you can be and what you came here to do. So much love to you all. Tupac, gracias por todos. And for some of you to understand that speak Spanish, my Spanish isn't exact. I apologize in advance on that. And also, my job is to convey it in language you understand. So he may speak 5 words and I may speak 20 at times, but I need to give you context so this can land in the same way I had to learn to incorporate it in my world. So from the condor in the south to the eagles in the north to the far reaches down in New Zealand, for those of you here. Much love, and thank you for showing up. Tupac.
Ñay, gracias, hermano Guamanche. Pues saludarles a cada uno de nuestras hermanas, hermanos. Buen día. Panachaykuna, Ekchaykuna, Sumapuncha.
So, beloved brothers and sisters, I welcome you from my heart, from the very presence of this consciousness.
Decirles bienvenidos a este segundo encuentro de clases de estudio sobre Pachaban Causay, que nos enseñan nuestros abuelos incas.
And so I welcome you from this to the second class of the transmissions of the sacred wisdom from our ancestors, the Inca.
Pues donde vamos a disfrutar de nuestro estudio sagrado, aprendiendo los códigos incas que nos van a abrir hacia el mundo sagrado, hacia el mundo cósmico.
So we welcome you to we want you to enjoy the teachings of the sacred wisdom of the Andean world, of the Incan world.
Y donde también nos vamos a abrirnos cada uno a nuestra dimensión, a nuestro Ukupachay, ¿no? A nuestro ser interno.
So we also want you to open up to another level of your being, to another level of your spirit that is contained within your body.
Desde ahí para poder remover algunas energías y dar algunos cambios que necesitamos en estos tiempos.
So that we can move with the energies necessary, the power to make the changes necessary in these times.
Donde vamos a cambiar, transformar, canalizar, alinear algunas energías que están ahí dentro.
Because we want to help move and align and refine and create these energies inside of you.
Donde algunos ñawins, fuentes necesitan conexión, necesitan reconexión, retomar una nueva energía, una nueva conciencia ahí.
And so in your nyawis or your sacred sources, your centers, the yachai, the munai, the yonkai, the life force, kauzai, we need to create an evolution, a revolution. We need to adjust those and open them so that you can be basically tuned up and operating at full functionality.
Donde vamos a liberar algunas energías que no son parte de nosotros, ¿no? Tal vez son historias o supersticiones o algunos sueños que no son reales.
So we need to also free ourselves from some of the stories, the energies, or even the dreams, the things that we think that are us, but actually are not us. They are just the entrapments.
Donde también en una parte la enseñanza en esta clase, los códigos nos van a ayudar a sanar esas energías o esa tristeza, esas, esas enfermedades que tenemos.
So these classes, these energies, these concepts, transmissions that we offer will help to cure and to alleviate the suffering in your being.
Y también algunos códigos que nos van a enseñar a encontrarnos con nosotros mismos. Muchas veces nos hemos desprendido, nos hemos desconectado de nuestra esencia, de nuestro ser.
It is because we're these codices will help us because many times we are disconnected from our essence. We are sleeping to our true essence.
donde muchas veces hemos escuchado hablar, ¿no? La pérdida de alma, o decimos, perdí mi alma, perdí mi energía.
A lot of times we don't realize, so we're separate from our soul energy. We're separate from that divine higher construct, that consciousness that we hold, because we've been living in a density for a long time, and so that naturally, because we're not occupying that space all the time, and most of the people around us aren't occupying that, we tend to drop down into a level of operation that is less than our totality, and that is why traditionally over time there's always an apprentice to a mentor to a maestro, there's a padawan to a jedi, because it is being in the presence of that one that can see, that one that can feel, that one that has remembered, allows you to raise your consciousness and stand next to us. And this is the concept of guided learning that has been the basis of indigenous culture through time.
Muchas veces no sabemos dónde está, dónde hemos perdido nuestra energía o dónde nos hemos desconectado. Y eso nos va a enseñar los códigos.
So many times we're searching long and far through different ceremonies, through different books, through different experiences. Where is this connection? Where is this wisdom? Where is this? How do I do this? And of course, the joke is it's right inside of us, but there isn't adequate reflection around us so that we can recognize that when, for example, we are feeling this divine love in the presence of another, we don't project it on them, but we recognize we are feeling divine love in another's presence and sharing that. And to me, to us, that is the basis of what relationship is. That's the basis of community.
Y también vamos a aprender cómo escucharnos y cómo escuchar. Muchas veces no escuchamos con los oídos sagrados, sino que escuchamos de diferente forma o a nuestra manera.
So everybody's talking about is filtering. A lot of times we don't listen with our sacred ears. We're caught up in the ramblings of the superficial or the mental or the societal or the cultural. And so we have to remember how to listen from our soul to understand the message so that we can turn the lead into gold, so that we can overcome, so that we can embody.
Y muchas veces nos hemos desconectado, por ejemplo, de la creatividad, de ser inspiradores, de crear algo nuevo, de hacer algo nuevo o despertar una conciencia, ¿no? Y todo esto está en los códigos.
So we're oftentimes disconnected from our power, our creativity, our fertility. And in that it makes it very difficult to bring into manifestation the life we want, because it has been repressed, because it has been traumatized, because it has been disallowed or disavowed. And so in that aspect, if you find yourself in that situation, for example, as a young person having a trauma around your sexuality, that fertility place of the womb, the second chakra, becomes blocked, not as a burden, although it may feel that way, but you have to understand the codices will help to unlock the perspective so that you can fully embody the experience you came here to use to gain consciousness again. So again, you're turning the lead into gold. You're becoming the master gardener. You're learning to listen with your spiritual ears, see with your spiritual eyes, tap into the depth of your fertility and use it to manifest and come online. And I should say that the way we recognize that we're not doing that is through what we call suffering. We call it disease. We call it heartache. We call it frustrations with our relationships. We call it all manner of thing outside of ourselves. And understand that that is the distraction from self and the invitation to turn back into self and say, okay, how do I integrate this? And where we find ourselves in the West is, wow, where are the sacred teachings that help us do this? And that's what the codices are.
Y que hay veces nos sentimos diferente o diferente persona, tenemos diferente personalidad o diferente forma de pensar, no somos nosotros mismos. Esto también vamos a aprender y cómo peregrinar. Muchas veces peregrinamos superficialmente. No hay una peregrinación sagrado con lo sagrado.
So many times our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our whole perspective is off. It's superficial. And so he's talking about the sacred journey we make. And even in those sacred journeys, it can be superficial. So you might have a trip to Peru or a trip to the Andes, but it may be superficial, and that's okay. But the offerings of the codices allows you goes down to the profound level of this, and to really be from the spirit, from the consciousness, and move through time space.
Pues tenemos que encontrarnos, ¿no? Tenemos que encontrarte, quién eres, por qué estás aquí y cuál es tu misión.
Right. So we have to come into contact and say, what is it? Where are we going? Who am I? And in that way, then you can occupy your mission, the reason why you came here, your soul's journey, more fully. And you might
O
find
estás,
yourself, momentito, you might
o
find yourself doing
estás,
it for years, but this is another level where you're going to sink even deeper down into your work.
o tal vez estamos perdiendo tiempo aquí en esta existencia. No estamos haciendo lo correcto o lo que quieren los seres cósmicos.
So we might spend a lot of time in this space, but we're helping you to connect more fully with the cosmos.
O estamos haciendo simplemente a nuestra manera, a nuestra forma de experiencia las cosas de conexión, las ceremonias.
And this also allows you to create a form of connection that allows you to go to a much deeper level, that allows you to bypass the superficial reaction, the triggers, and understand what's really going on, to optimize yourself as a conscious being.
Entonces, necesitamos o queremos aprender para ser reconocidos por los seres cósmicos. ¿Qué quieren los seres cósmicos para nosotros?
It's
¿Qué nos
also
espera?
So it's also to reconnect with the spiritual, the cosmic beings, and allow them to guide you and help you and move through time space with the totality of that connection.
¿Qué quieren nuestros ancestros o qué querían nuestros ancestros para sus nietos en estos tiempos?
At the same time, to connect with your ancestors, to the ancestral wisdom.
¿Sí? ¿O qué sueños tenían los ancestros? ¿Qué visiones tenían para nosotros?
What dreams, what things do they contain for us? What does our heritage hold?
Y también vamos a tocar un poco de Pachacuti, ¿no? Sobre una profecía que vamos a tocar con un código.
And a little bit in this journey, we'll talk about Panchakuti, the prophecy of the overturning times that we're experiencing right now.
Porque muchos no estamos preparados para esa energía de Pachacuti que ya está aquí presente.
Because most of us aren't ready for this energy at this moment and how it affects our lives, how it strips us away, how it shines a light so deeply upon us that we have no choice but to self-realize and release our defenses that we don't even know are happening.
Entonces necesitamos prepararnos, ¿no? Mentalmente, emocionalmente, conciencialmente, espiritualmente, para conectar, para entender ese mensaje, ese poder de Pachacuti.
And so we need to prepare ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically to receive the message of the Panchakuti, to surrender to the higher aspect of ourself that's being born through our density, through our entanglement.
Y hoy en día vemos como que sentimos y vemos como que hay un conflicto, ¿no? Un conflicto de energía, una confusión de energía. Eso está manifestándose en diferentes personas.
So right now we're suffering from a conflict of energies, an entanglement of energies, a disconnection of energies, an oppositional dualistic energy. And all of this is causing great difficulty in the world and inside of ourselves.
Están pasando muchas cosas ahora mismo, ¿no? Hay de algunas cosas que estamos conscientes, de otras cosas no estamos conscientes.
And so we're dealing with a lot of stuff. Sometimes it's happening here and there, sometimes it's consistent. Basically, we're in a time in between where we find that the world is no longer working for us, that we're struggling, that we don't know how to have our ends meet. We don't know what to do. We're being surprised by the realizations of what needs to occur. And sometimes that can be traumatizing, sometimes that can be overwhelming. And so the teachings allow you to see all this from a perspective of grace, a perspective of empowerment.
Sí, hay enfermedades, hay diferentes traumas, hay, hay peleas, guerras, conflictos, hay mucha contaminación cada vez más en este tiempo.
Because in this time, we have a lot of contamination, a lot of hucha, a lot of heaviness. We have wars, we have illness, we have one rising up against the other. We're being manipulated in our minds. We're being told to
Sí,
stand up for one country or the other country, one person or the other person. And all this is a great difficulty that contaminates our soul
o
or our
sea,
consciousness.
y eso afecta, ¿no? Afecta en menor, mayor nivel de movimiento, de energía al pueblo, a los países, a cada persona, familias.
And so this it interrupts, contaminates, makes it difficult for the energies to move clearly in ourselves, in our families, in our villages, in our countries, in our culture as a planetary race.
Afecta en cada conciencia, en cada persona.
It affects every consciousness, every person.
Y eso sentimos.
And so this
Sentimos
is
hay veces, cuando estamos conscientes, es claro.
and so this is what we feel now. It's very clear.
Entonces, todo esto vamos a estudiar, a desenvolver, descubrir y salir de todo eso, ¿no? O haciendo la práctica, haciendo el estudio en nuestra clase.
So in these classes, these studies, these practices, it's a way to alleviate the suffering, a way to help you to navigate reality, to come more fully into yourself and to be fully present.
Entonces, de nuestro estudio vamos a disfrutarlo,
So we want you to
todos.
enjoy all of it.
Y cada uno de nosotros vamos a beneficiarnos por el bien de nuestros ñawins, por el bien de nuestra conciencia, energía, templo.
So that it can benefit your energetic your centers, your energy, your consciousness, your entire being. And eventually, as that you walk that presence through your life, you benefit by your presence alone, the people around you, your village, the planetary body, consciousness itself.
Los códigos incas que les vamos a enseñar, que les vamos a presentar, están aquí viendo la situación de este tiempo, viendo tu templo cósmico.
So the teachings that come from these Andes and all these wisdom teachings benefit not just your consciousness, but these times and the era in which you find yourself.
Porque hemos hecho un poco de tiempo, nos hemos dado un tiempo para examinar. Hemos intervenido, ¿no? ¿Qué está pasando en nuestro Mancoswasi? Por qué esos sufrimientos, esos cambios que no son buenos?
So it basically will help you to examine what's going on in your life, what's happening in your body and your environment, so that you can better understand it and then intercept the decisions and the associations and the thoughts and the actions that you're doing that are creating the troubles.
Esas desconexiones, esa infelicidad, ese desequilibrio, esa desconexión. ¿Por qué?
And then you can understand, why are you disconnected? Why are you isolated? Why are you returning to these same patterns and over? Why is this?
Eso quiere decir que algo está pasando en cada uno de nosotros, algo está pasando en la ciudad, en ese movimiento de energías.
We all have this stuff, connections of past to difficulties in the cities and the families and all of this. Of course, we all have it.
Entonces, por eso hemos tomado, hemos conectado algunos códigos que nos van a servir, que van a trabajar en nuestra sabiduría, en nuestra energía, en nuestra conciencia, en este estudio de clases.
So in this way, this is why we need to connect to a more of a holiness, a more complete form of cosmology, these codices, these life ways, these principles that we can base our daily experience on, so that we come into our energy, come into our consciousness, come into the movements of life in a more beneficial way.
Y cada código es como un libro, ¿no?
So
Considerado como un libro. Es que vamos a estudiar la parte básica y la parte necesaria que necesita nuestro conocimiento, nuestro cuerpo, nuestro templo sagrado.
So each one of these codices, each one of these principles is like a book unto itself. There's a basic level, there's medium, and there's advanced levels. And so we will study into them so that it'll put you in connection with your consciousness and with your being and your life way.
O sea, a lo que nos permite nuestros seres cósmicos, ¿no? A lo que nos abre, conecte nuestros seres cósmicos. No porque hermano Guamanche o hermano Tupac quiere a su manera, a su forma, no. Todo esto es conexión con los códigos.
So the códigos also open up a space so that you can be in connection with your higher consciousness and your guidance. And it's not like, oh, one person has it or the other person have it. We all have that access. It's just the contamination of our experiential reality and our self-limitation and our mentality, our emotional blockages, our energetic dysfunction, our own separation, kicking ourselves out of the garden, has created this situation where it's not functioning. And so the life principles will help you to reanimate all of that. Muy bien.
Entonces, hoy día estamos empezando con este estudio de Willka Kay.
So today we want to work with the principle Willka Kay.
¿Sí? El código es Willka Kay.
The código es Willka Kay. Wakichai, ¿quieres una benedicción antes de esto?
Primero quiero que se introduzcan esta palabra Willka Kay y después vamos a entrar con la invocación.
Perfecto, gracias. So the código is Willka Kay.
¿Sí? Puede repetir 7 veces, 12 veces Willka Kay, Willka Kay.
So we'd like you to repeat out loud Willka Kay, so you understand the resonance of what that feels like, what that means. Willka Kay. Willka Kay.
Mientras que yo hago la invocación en silencio, mientras que yo pido permiso a nuestros seres cósmicos para empezar nuestro estudio, usted va repitiendo, introduciendo Willka Kay, Willka Kay.
So as we pray here, we ask you to repeat Willka Kay as a means to open the space resonantly for the celestial guidance and the elemental and the earth guidance that is a part of this transmission to come around you and make space for them to help guide you through this process. So as he prays, you can repeat Willka Kay.
Cerramos los ojos.
Please close your eyes, watch your distraction. Willka causai, Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka causai, Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay, So I ask you to take a deep breath into your entire being.
Ilakuna, Kanakpacha, Kanchakpacha, Pausa, Pamakentaita, Pachataita, Ilakuna, Pachamama, Arnata Sumachta, Kallaysaqku, Kay Achaita, kay pacha kawsaynikupi, munayta yacharichiwayku, munaynikichismanta illakuna sumaqta yacharichisaq, kay panachaykunata, wayqachaykunata, sumaqta pusarisaq, yachay k'anchaywan, munay yachaywan, Inka taytakuna, Inka mamakuna, paqukuna, munayllata, chayta waqarikamaykichis, tukuy sunquykumanta pacha. En la invocación, o puede empezar a invocar y introduce tu nombre completo, tu país, lo que tú sientes a nuestros seres cósmicos.
So I ask you now to state your full name and the country you come from to the spirits that are present, that have been called in for you, to help you on your journey of recovery and remembering. And breathe and accept that through this time we have gone through a great sleep. We've gone through a time of separation. If you had raised your head up in consciousness years ago, it may have been knocked down a little bit harder. You may have past lives where this occurred to you. But you have to realize that you are coming online at the perfect time because the world is coming online now. And so if you find yourself in difficulty, reach out to these mountain spirits, to these celestial beings that are here to guide us and offer us support, navigational tools to better find our way through the maze. And if there is something specific in your life that you are struggling with right now, repeating patterns, courage, entrapment, self-deprecation, things like this, ask for the assistance to help you do the work of liberation. And breathe deeply and let go into the arms of Mother Earth, into the powerful arms of Father Sky, so that you no longer sense that you are alone here, that you no longer have to operate from survival mode, taking care of everything and everyone, but you can just sit in your frame and receive as the holy child that you are, between the upper and the lower worlds. You are in the middle earth, and yet you exist in the lower worlds and you exist in the upper worlds. And through these principles, you will allow yourself to connect and interweave yourself in a way that allows you to transcend time and space, so that you will be a vessel, a holy vessel through which your consciousness walks this earth, in the same way that the way showers spoke of so long ago. These things and more ye shall do. Take another
Listo, su invocación, poco a poco puede abrir los ojos.
Take a deep breath, and as you exhale, open your eyes into the safety of this reality, recognizing that we are all here together. And Tupac and myself and the rest of the lineage, and I'll speak for all wisdom keepers, we are very deeply grateful for all that you've gone through, that all the choices you made, and for showing up. It has not been easy. And recognize that there is a time where you may feel in isolation in some manner. But know that is a preparation, and it's a place we have to have so that we can talk to this level of consciousness before we go out and intermesh with the many people here. So slowly open your eyes, live in your heart. If you need to tap your heart to ground yourself in your body, do so. And let go of all
Gracias
the
por gracias por la invocación. Añay, añay.
Thank you for the invocation you've made for yourself, for taking responsibility and meeting us here.
Y gracias, hermano Guamanche, por organizar esta clase para nuestras hermanas, nuestros hermanos, el Ayu. Qué bonito, hermano Guamanche,
So I'm
hacer
thankful
este
for
puente de
I'm
conexión.
thankful for Womanchek of organizing and creating this portal, this fountain through which we can gather.
Es importantísimo hacer un puente cada cierto tiempo, ¿no? Para alimentar, conectar, reanimar, activar a nuestros hermanos de la illo.
So it's very important to create and maintain this bridge so that we can connect, so we can activate, so we can maintain relationship with our brothers and sisters.
Tal vez no es igual por esta línea virtual como encontrarnos personalmente en la naturaleza, en las montañas, pero de alguna manera esto funciona, conecta con la ayuda de nuestros apus.
And so, of course, it is not the same as sitting out in nature together, sharing the space and the energies. But I'm so grateful for this opportunity through this technology to make this connection with all of you and to spread it out into the world, because when you're in your homes and across the world as you are, the web is much greater than if we're just concentrated in one place. We are actually in an extension, and you are doing the work in all these places.
En nuestras clases depende cómo tú te vas a preparar, ¿no? Con la debida anticipación para poder recibir, abrir tu corazón, abrir tu yacha, imuna yanka y recibir la información.
And so it is up to you as we come together in these classes how you prepare yourself to receive this information, to have these interactions, etc., etc.
Importante antes o un día antes tal vez caminar en la naturaleza, hacer un poquito de chinca y meditación o un poquito liberación de las distracciones o energías negativas. Y
Mm-hmm.
así estar un poco listo para la clase.
So we're asking you as we approach these classes, that's important the day before or the time before you sit, is to go out and walk with nature or prepare yourself to clear your schedule, to give yourself time to connect and to open and to relax so that you can maximize the absorption of the transmission that is coming through.
O un simple purificación, ¿no? Meterse al agua, no una ducha, baño con jabón, no, sino que simplemente un poquito de agua con la intención de limpiarse, liberarse, ¿no? El agua es muy bueno porque tiene poder, porque tiene energía, está consciente.
So we say to even cleanse yourself with water. We don't mean you have to take a shower per se and wash yourself, but to work with water to purify yourself and make connection. Water is very good for this. It's a very powerful element for this.
O simplemente, si estás cerca a un árbol, cerca a un jardín, toca la Pachamama, toca un árbol, por un momento, por un instante, conecta. Esto va a cambiar
Or you
en
can go out to a
tu
tree
energía.
in your land or in your garden and touch this land. It's very good to transfer the energy and absorption. It's like qigong, where the off gases of our reality feeds the tree, and the off gases, oxygen of their reality, feed us. And so there is this symbiotic relationship that you can do with the elements.
Yo también tengo que hacerlo para estar listo para las clases. Igual, hermano Guamanche, porque si no vamos a estar pesados en la clase y a veces esa energía se siente, ¿no? Esa energía incomoda, no fluyes libre.
And at the same time, we have to prepare ourselves so that the energy can be fluid and available to you. And what he's getting at is he's saying, we're all walking each other home. We're doing it together. So we want to realize that we're honoring you for your dedication and your preparation, and even the confusion and the difficulty that you've suffered that got here, because without that, you may not be here. And so what we come to realize is that we're just here now, and we work with the collective that we have. And, we're at the holy number of 13 today. So it's a beautiful understanding that as you do your preparation and trust, then that which is necessary shows up for you. And your job is to then take care of whatever realization that has come to you for the safety of your own people and others, for the beauty of your own people and others, for the procreation, for the providence, for the realizations that you're going through. And sometimes those challenges are very difficult and take all of you. And sometimes it takes a while. And that's why we have a long period of time as an incarnation in order to achieve these things. So it is through free will that we take this information and integrate it into our lives. But if you feel like something's not moving It's because there's something that's stuck. So in this process of preparation, we also invite you to start looking at your anchorage points. Anchorage, that might be in Alaska. Anchorage, that might be in an old bay. Anchorage points, it may be in an old cosmology. Anchorage, tie lines, entanglements. And so part of the preparation is giving yourself time and space through this winter, the time of hibernation where you're not very active, to unknot yourself, to disentangle yourself, to let go, to allow another creature that's in your presence to pass on to the next dimension, to walk them across the rainbow bridge, right? In the same way you're walking the part of yourself that has suffered, that has been separate, across the rainbow bridge, back into your reality. And these days that we're together and these times will help us in a repeating pattern every couple of weeks to reassure. And if you recognize, again, I'll say that you're frustrated or stuck, it means because something behind you is still holding you back. In our Western worlds, we really like to get ahead, to get there, to know all the codices, to have them all. What I'm saying is trust the process of growth. The flower comes up, it breaks through the earth, it shoots up, but it's still long until the flower, it's still long until the fruit, right? Recognize that we're going from now in mid-December where it's dark and the light is very low, all the way through spring, heading towards solstice, right? The end of this class will be May 26th. So that whole period of transition up from the place of the black bear, where you're looking at what you have, you're in gratitude, you're preparing for the long sleep, you're releasing what no longer works, you've gathered your sustenance for the winter, and you're going into the time of the white wolf, you're going into the time of the deep understanding, where you're underneath the starlights, where you're in your resource, you're living off your resource. And then the light changes and it grows and it comes to fruition, and you plant those seeds, right? And what we're doing now is you're planting those seeds. And then in the spring, that'll be your garden that you'll bring right up into June. And then when you hit that next solstice that we are going to move from prior this solstice, just prior to the next solstice. And then that will, right, be the cycle of life into 2025, 26, 27, the new era. The Panchakuti ends in 2025. Yeah.
La suerte, Chewa Mancha. Entonces, de eso se trata la clase, de disfrutar,
So we
¿sí?
want
De
you to enjoy this
sentirnos
class,
bien, ¿sí? Y
to feel.
poner las orejas como el burrito o como la vaquita, abierto.
So he's saying we want you to listen like with the ears of a donkey.
Sí, porque a veces es para algunos es difícil manejar el oído para escuchar algo mejor.
Uh-huh.
O escucha lo que quiere nomás.
Yeah. So sometimes he's laughing because it's difficult to pay attention or to listen. Sometimes we get distracted, or our fear comes up and gets in the way. I don't really want to hear that. I want to hear it, but I really don't want to hear it, because if I really hear that and take that to heart, I really got to take a long look in the mirror at why I'm repressing myself, and I have to give up my story that someone else is doing it to me, right? So,
Sí. Por ejemplo, imagina,
so
estás cansado, agotado, bloqueado,
sometimes we're tired,
y
sometimes we're blocked.
en ese estado, uno no quiere escuchar las cosas sagrados de
Mhm.
Willka Kay, ¿no? Sino que otra cosa necesita ahí.
Yeah.
Y
So in
eso a
those
veces no hay en la
places,
clase.
and sometimes we're in a situation where it's just difficult to hear, and it's difficult to show up for the class. And in that way, that's why we're recording all this, and you'll have access to it unlimited, so you can go back and revisit. And also understand that the first time you hear it, you absorb it at a certain level, and then each time you revisit it, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And so this will also
O uno
always,
simplemente se limita, se resiste, ¿no?
yeah.
De manera consciente e inconsciente. Es un espacio diferente eso. Por eso digo, por eso en el curso vamos a aprender cómo escuchar.
Yeah, so we've learned over the process of doing this course is that we're not going to be present. We don't expect you to be present all the time, in the sense of being able to absorb all of it, to hear all of it, to understand, to self-reflect. So we're just giving you the tools, almost like putting nuts in your pocket. And as you make your great journey of life, then you can take a nut out and chew on it for a while and say, oh, wow, that really nourishes me. And so these principles are those sacred nuts that help you. It's like the beef jerky and the bread to make the long journey across the continent. So you can realize
Y
how
hay veces
needy you really are.
cuando preguntamos, ¿no? Nos preguntamos con hermano Guamancha, hermano, ¿has entendido? ¿Qué? ¿Qué era? ¿Qué dijiste? Eso pasa, hay veces, ¿no?
Yeah, so it's like Brother Umanchak is just like, what? What did you say? That you're talking about me? Huh? Really?
¿Era
Oh,
inglés, quechua, español? ¿Qué,
is it
qué, qué es?
Spanish, English,
Mm.
Quechua? You see, your mind is going to find all kinds of manners to distract yourself and send you in different justifications, right? So, well, we're laughing with ourselves and saying, yeah, we're all at school. We'd really like to be home playing video games, and yet we are creating. This is a video game. It's one big holographic video game. So let this be your cheat sheet to go like, oh yeah, this is the way you handle this. Oh yeah, this is the way that you can overcome that. So yeah, listo aquí.
Gracias, hermano. Gracias, gracias. Entonces, ya sabe antes de la clase cómo básicamente tiene que prepararse, venir listo a la clase y también después vamos a decir qué va a hacer después de la clase.
So just to recap, it is important that you find time to prepare yourself for this class. You don't come screeching in 100 kilometers an hour and park your car and run over and sit down. Take a little bit of time to prepare yourself. So if your class starts at 5 or 6 p.m., maybe an hour before, a couple hours before, especially on a Sunday, take the time to go in, to meditate, to open, to work through, to quiet the mind so that you can open. Yeah.
Y pues tenemos que ser obedientes, ¿no? Obedientes. em, Porque no solo es nuestra palabra de Tupac o hermano Amanche, sino que también es tu energía, lo que tú necesitas, y también es la energía cósmica.
So it's not just the words and the transmission that we're giving you, it's your energy that's important, your connection to the cosmos that's important.
Porque este encuentro, este estudio sagrado está dándose porque quiere los cosmos, los abuelos, tus ancestros. Por eso estamos aquí.
So it's important that we create this container so that the cosmic beings and the ancestors can come together, so that you can reclaim the splintered parts of your soul, so that the ancestry and the cultural wisdom that is of your place can move, not just be present, but reconnect with you so that it can move through you as you.
No pensemos, no, es que es mi responsabilidad. Yo, ¿por qué quiero vengo aquí? No es así, sino que una parte sí, pero esta es conexión, este es un encuentro sagrado por los seres.
So it's a little bit of making the decision to come and to participate in this, but the bigger thing is to give an audience to, or a space for this cosmic information to reside inside of you.
Nuestros seres cósmicos siempre están ahí para ayudarnos, para soportarnos y abrirnos, ¿no? A este encuentro sagrado.
Because the celestial spirits want to help us, they want to guide us, they want to support us. So it's up to you to open the space to allow that to happen. And sometimes it's difficult because we tend to live in a cosmology that we're separate, that we've been kicked out of the garden. We've been programmed that way, right? All of our media tells us that. So we have to recognize that you're showing up not just for yourself, but you're showing up for the wisdom of your people. You're showing up for the connection to the cosmos. And the God self can then meet the externalized self. And together we can remember and to come back into a great harmony. And that is really the work at the individual level and at the same time the collective level. And so we both have great appreciation for you showing up in the places you are, because here we have Norway and Austria and the Netherlands and Puerto Rico and Ireland and so many places where people come from, right? The United States, Germany, Canada, New Zealand, right? We have a global web that is coming together to hold space ceremonially, consciously, so this transmissions can land. And that in itself is probably the most important thing one can ever do for ourselves and one another.
Entonces, vamos a empezar este código Willka Kay
And so this
diciendo
code,
gracias a nuestros seres cósmicos, a nuestros abuelos.
and so we'd like in the entry into the Willka Kay to feel and to expand that gratitude for their willingness, unyielding willingness to be with us, to guide us, to be in providence with us, the patience as the children we have gotten lost, have become distracted.
Este código Willka Kay nos enseña de cómo encontrar una felicidad, un cambio en el sentido más sagrado.
So the Willka Kay is about coming into like a sacred connection, a joy, an energetic fulfillment that is holy.
Enseña cómo transformarnos en diferentes niveles de conciencia, de sabiduría,
It changes us into,
para, para el bien de nuestra energía, para el bien de nuestra conciencia, templo.
so it helps us to shift into a higher consciousness, into a deeper path of the river, into a stronger connection with everything that is. Y poco más corto ya, para mí, para Teresa.
Nos enseña cómo mantenernos continuo en el sentido sagrado.
So it helps us to maintain a deeper connection constantly, deeper feelings.
Y en ese sentido tejer o cultivar las energías sagradas que están en los cosmos.
So that we can cultivate a stronger, more profound connection and embodiment and union with the cosmic energies.
Conectar y cultivar aquellas sabidurías de la vida, aquellas actitudes, comportamientos que están ahí para nuestro cuerpo, nuestro templo.
That gives us access to the sacred energies, the sacred concepts, principles, and energetics to benefit our life, to benefit our body.
Willka Kay toma un camino de ser sagrados o de cambiar de lo que estamos al sentido sagrado.
Mm-hmm. So it's a sacred pathway that helps us to come into presence, come into realignment, to come into holiness, so that we can operate from a perspective not of conflict or duality, from a place of understanding the opportunity that is in front of us.
Nos enseña a reconocer todo lo sagrado que está aquí en esta dimensión.
So that you can understand that everything is sacred in this dimension, and you can step out of the concept of right and wrong, good and bad.
Todo lo sagrado que está dentro de nosotros, que está frente a nosotros.
Mm-hmm. How is it enter into us? How does it become a fountain so that it affects everything, that it benefits everything, so that your very presence, without doing anything, just your essence of being is beneficial for yourself and everyone around you, the entire planet, the entire cosmology.
Hay momentos, tiempos en que no vemos claro las cosas, no distinguimos lo que es sagrado o no es sagrado.
And of course, we're going to have times where we're disconnected and we're wondering, is something sacred or not sacred? Of course.
Muchas veces pensamos que no es sagrado cuando tocamos algo, cuando observamos algo, o
Sometimes
simplemente observamos por observar.
Sometimes we just don't know, even when we're touching it or observing it, whether it's sacred or not, what to do, whether it's holy or holiness, if it's a projection of myself or the opportunity to get beyond myself and do something in a different way.
Entonces, Willka Kay nos va guiando, nos va dirigiendo el cambio desde nuestro ser, desde nuestro espacio sagrado.
So the Willka Kay is a guide. It is a principle that guides us to the holiness of ourselves and allows us to operate from our spirit, from our higher conscious, from our totality.
Willka Kay también significa estar consciente, continuo, permanente, lúcido, claro.
So it is clear, it is fluid, it is liquid, it is something that is with us all the time. It is a river of life and a river of consciousness. And so the observation that we'll all recognize is how we prevent ourselves from being in that river, how we distract ourselves from that continuity, and how we are the ones that can rejoin to get back into the river, to allow yourself to flow, and even come down the river and you might feel fear because you're coming right at a waterfall or a rock, right? And to trust that flow to take you where you're supposed to be. And that courage is what allows you to navigate the world without a reactionary mindset, without a protective mindset, without a dualistic construct.
Es también reconocer, aceptar lo que es, lo que existe.
Mm-hmm. And so we have to remember to accept, and we have to question, what is this? What is this truly? What is this opportunity in this obstacle? Where is the love in this absence? Where is the light in this shadow? How can I be the alchemist?
Para ser aceptados, reconocidos por todo lo que es sagrado y por los seres cósmicos.
And so we have to remember that everything is sacred in the cosmic order, everything. And that is something that is very difficult for us to understand because we're busy trying to decide whose team we're on.
Porque si nosotros o tú no aceptas, no reconoces lo sagrado que está dentro de ti, fuera de ti,
So
entonces hay un bloqueo.
Right. We become blocked because we don't realize, is this me or is this not me? Is this something I allow in or I don't allow in? We're constantly in this decisionary process instead of opening. And, you know, the thing that's hard for the Western mind is that we're operating from a great deal of trauma response. 90%, in an article I read recently, was 90% of relationships are trauma bonds, right? So if that's the situation we're dealing with, we're constantly in this, am I safe or I'm not safe? Am I safe? Am I not safe? And so through this Willka Kay, we learn to understand, look at the challenge that's in front of me and how am I safe in my wholeness, whether I engage this or not, right? So you don't allow that external thing to drive your consciousness. Your consciousness drives the external reality. Let me say that again. It is not the external reality that drives your consciousness, although that's how we're trained and that's how we give away our power and victimize. It is our consciousness that drives our reality. One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Muchas veces ignoramos, no tomamos atención a las cosas sagradas que están ahí.
And many times we just ignore, we avoid the sacred aspect because it seems difficult. We don't know how to get there. We've given up, we've disempowered, so we just don't bother finding the holiness in the situation.
Hay veces no tomamos importancia, no conectamos, no nos acercamos.
So we ignore it. We don't accept it. We don't recognize that that step is one step in the stairway to heaven. So we tend to say, no, that's not it. That's not me. And yet the irony is we're there present with it. And if you're there present with it, there's something there for you.
O fríamente tocamos, contactamos algo sagrado que está ahí. En pensamiento, en emociones o sentimientos.
Or we don't make contact with it. We don't touch it. We're cold in our feelings. We're cold in our mind. We're cold in our being. And then we don't understand why we feel cold. We don't understand why we are disconnected. And so Willka Kay allows you to encounter whatever it is you're encountering and observe the part of the mind that's going to have reactions and judgments. And like a child that's crying through the middle of the night and you're tired and you're confused and you're feeling alone, you simply hold that presence of that part of you that's crying, that's reacting, that's struggling. And you are that embodiment of Mother Earth that holds it all.
Tenemos que tener mucho cuidado eh, de las distracciones. Hay mucha distracción o de los bloqueos energéticos, porque eso no nos deja contactar, no nos deja encontrar con esa energía sagrada.
Yeah, so there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of distraction, there's a lot of blockages, there's a lot of, do I make contact with this or not? And the reality is that if you're not engaged, then you're going to miss the opportunity to create the life you want. And understand that the light is born of the darkness. The disentangled state comes out of the entanglement. The comfort comes out of the discomfort. And so many of us move away from these things, the dis-ease, and we miss creating ease. We have to do the alchemy. We have to do that. So Willka Kay is a principle that gives you a perspective and understanding that everything is holy and everything is there for a reason. Everything, yes, is a challenge. And yes, gives you the opportunity to release the entrapment of the past. And sometimes, in order to create life, you must create death. And sometimes that's very hard. And sometimes to create death, you have to create life.
La pregunta es, ¿cuáles son aquellas cosas que que no te deja encontrarte, que no te deja conectar con todo lo sagrado que está dentro de ti y fuera de ti?
So the big question is what are the things that prevent us, if you will, from understanding, from connecting, from being in this right relationship, Aini, right? Being in this power of observation, consciousness. So what is it in us that does that? That's the real question. Of course it's distraction. Of course it's...
Esta pregunta es la manera de hacer ejercicio. Tiene 10 minutos para analizar esto. Tienes que encontrar. ¿Para qué? Para liberar. ¿Sí?
So this is something
Porque
that's
hay cosas que no te sirve.
Right. This is something that's important that you spend, 10 minutes observing. Es bueno. Yo he hecho un guía los ellos para 5 minutos para esto, para una cosa en la vida, ¿ya? Para entender.
Sí, para entender cuáles son esas cosas posibles, 5, 10, 20, 30. No sé, hay cosas que distraen, que bloquea. Por ejemplo, acciones o comportamientos, pensamientos, en trabajo, algunas cosas bueno, no bueno, que analicen 10 minutos.
Sí.
5 minutos no es suficiente para ellos.
Yo voy a ahora para un ejemplo para ellos, ¿ya? Momentito. So he's saying it's important, not just 5 minutes, but 10 minutes, 15, 20, something to go through this process to understand how you have observation. So I want to take a moment now to do an exercise with you. So what I'd like you to do is just find your center, sit up, take a deep breath, let go of the jaw, exhale through the mouth, and trust the life you take is the life you give, that the life you give is the life you take. And I want you to find something in your life where you are in opposition, where you are in separation, where you're in confusion, where you don't understand why this repeating pattern continually approaches you, why you don't understand why you're not in a deeper, more holy presence in your life. And recognize the part of you that is in your way there. And be very honest with that. Right? And then bring that thing up to your chest, like the Holy Mother, the Holy Father that you are, and hold that part of you in your arms. If you want to put your hands over your heart, that is good. And I want you to really honestly observe and ask why you are not taking ownership. Why are you staying distant from this thing? Why are you judging it? Why are you staying in distraction? Why are you using this as an excuse not to live? And this is a very holistic moment of truth, because the answers you probably won't like very much. But realize they are your justifications, raison d'être, the reasons of your mind that you use to stay separate from yourself, from others, so that you, of course, the limbic brain is saying, because you don't want to feel that pain again. But I want you to take a deep breath into the fact that you are the one creating that pain by propagating this idea and maintaining this separation of duality. And as you take a deep breath in and let go, I want you to feel all of your ancestors of light and all the wisdom of the ages and the celestial beings of the light, as if they're placing a large woolen ceremonial blanket around you, as a great poncho of the sacred fiber of time-space, of wholeness is placed upon you. And open into the warmth of that and feel yourself embraced as if you're in a cosmic egg. And recognize that it's as simple as this to breathe and prepare yourself for the next moment in time, for the circumstance that you find yourself in. Recognize this holy space as an altar, as your full self, as your being. Now that you have the house remodeled, you've moved to a new place, you dissolve the relationship that constricts you. I want you to take a deep breath and let go of your jaw and open your heart and breathe like the innocent child that you are, the holy one that you are. And through Willka Kay, I would like you to open and allow yourself to be embraced by the light of creation itself, into the deepest part of your being, your womb, your heart, your head, and surrender to the war, surrender to the opposition, surrender to the excuse, to the confusion and contamination. Take a deep breath like you're preparing to defecate, and exhale and release it all into the earth. Like the morning movement after you've been asleep all night long. Because we have been asleep for a long while now. Because that's what we chose to do in order to survive until this time when the light was strong enough to grow in this coming springtime at the end of the old era and the beginning of the new. And recognize there are things still to release in your life. And there is so much to gain. So take a deep breath and realize the responsibility, the unique responsibility that you hold in order to transcend the circumstance that you have created for yourself. Beyond the victimization, beyond the cultural association, beyond the left and the right, the white and the blue flag versus the black, the green, the white, and the red flag, or whatever is in the news lately. Realize that your banner is not just one of earthling, but it's the cosmos. And so open and spread your wings and realize that you and the entire flock of creation are making this journey. And watch your distraction. And allow them just to be and find their own space. Because being in servitude towards another, whether you're a parent or a partner, may be a very clever means to stay separate and prevent them from finding their way, whether that's in a hospital, in a prison, in a school, bored, confused, distracted, lashing out for attention. And in this way, Willka Kay calms all that storm around you and allows you just to be and to go deeper. So one last breath for this moment into the heart, and surrender and lean back into all the cosmic beings that are here as you yawn away the tension, as you may be tired, as you may go into sleep. Sometimes the physical mind drops out because it's been in control too much. And when you're ready, start to open your eyes upon this new day and realize that every moment that you change and connect is a new day. And slowly open your eyes and come back. And realize the simplicity of the codices, simplicity of Willka Kay. To remember and to open to and to allow, and not get trapped in the cycles of the mind that keep us occupied. Ya listo aquí. So breathe as you listen. Open. Feel vulnerable. Feel afraid. Feel insecure. Because that's where your security comes from. That's where your confidence comes from. That's where the strength of being open comes from. Boldly going into places you've never gone before.
Entonces, ¿cuáles son aquellas cosas que que no nos deja, que nos bloquea encontrarnos, abrirnos, mantenernos en lo sagrado, en lo puro?
So he's asking, what are the things in your life that are maintaining the blockages, the disconnections, the distractions, et cetera, from the holiness in your life, from the deep connections with spirit in your life?
Que nos debilita, que nos absorbe nuestra energía.
What is it that is causing the disability, or the places where you're absorbing these external forces that are throwing you off your balance?
Conectamos, pero seguimos absorbidos, debilitados energéticamente, espiritualmente.
So you're connecting, but at the same time with people around you, maybe loved ones or clients or whatever, you're also absorbing that energy. You're taking on that suffering. You're throwing yourself into disarray.
Sentimos esa energía.
So feel this energy.
Es horrible.
It's horrible, isn't it?
Sí. Por ejemplo, voy a empezar, yo voy a empezar, después cada uno, ¿sí?
But for a moment, I'm going to speak to each one of you.
Cuando estoy más de una semana en la ciudad, me siento absorbido en la ciudad. Hay momentos me siento bloqueado en la ciudad, porque en la ciudad hay mucho movimiento de energía conflictivo, hay mucha hucha.
So, for example, I can speak of my experience, and I, as Jeff, can also speak that because I live out in the mountains now. He's saying, so I can be in town for a week, and without me even knowing it, I am absorbing the energies of all the conflicts, all the road rage, all the situations that people are going through, all the cellular conversation and arguments that are in the psychic space. And I feel blocked, and I feel disconnected.
Me siento golpeado por las energías.
Mm-hmm.
Es difícil de manejar y protegerme hay veces.
Disculpe, no escuché. Uno más.
Es difícil de manejar y protegerme hay veces.
So it is difficult to maintain and protect my energy and my consciousness in this environment. It's like trying to stay centered in the middle of a gladiator fight.
Entonces, necesito estar continuo en las montañas, continuo en Pumacanchi.
So for that reason,
en la ciudad.
I must come to my ancestral home in Pumacanchi and reconnect. For me, Wamanchik, I live out at the end of the road in the mountains now, away from everybody. And in that way, it takes me a while to spin down from dropping my kids off at school in town until I can reestablish myself. So consider that space that you cultivate at home and the sanctuary that's necessary, and not inviting that chaos into your sanctuary to keep you distracted, to keep you in the old ways, out of the guilt because someone else is suffering, for example, in Canada.
Y también hay veces en la ciudad, cuando estoy en la naturaleza con la Pachamama, los apus, soy muy exquisito, especial en mi comida natural. Pero en la ciudad, tentativo, comidas, no buenas comidas. Y a veces yo pruebo esta comida porque tengo antojo y pruebo, no me cae bueno para mi centro llancay.
So, for example, in the city, even with the food that I'm eating, it is the busy and the arguments or the stress of the people preparing it, right? And I realize it's not good for my yonkai. It's not good for my creativity, my fertility, my willingness, my willpower. That contamination I ingest into my body. And so I must find myself eating in a healthful way out in nature, close to Pachamama, with the
O la
star.
familia me ofrenda diferentes comidas cuando visito y digo, esta comida no es buena para mi estómago, pero por respeto tengo que comer algo, pero igual hace daño a mi estómago.
So sometimes it's a little bit of a balancing act because I go to friends and family's house and they offer me food and I can sense that it's not going to be good for my stomach. But at the same time, I also know that in right relationship and harmony and gratitude that I will ingest the offering of another in order to find a balance. So what he's talking about here is the principle of isolation, being a hermetic or being a monk or being a yogi in a cave, where you're totally alone by yourself in nature, eating pure, versus interacting and learning how to digest the hucha, the contaminants. And what I realized years ago was I was eating very, very clean. And then when I started traveling, I was feeling upset all the time because I was getting contaminated by the food that wasn't completely organic. And so there's a balance to achieve that you establish your place, knowing that you're going to go be challenged and may be contaminated by the energies of your workplace, by the energies of your town, by the energies of your culture. But little by little, that's how we train to become conscious. And in that state, then the power of your consciousness, the presence itself, will dissolve the conflicts of what's around you so that you might be ingesting it, but you're not being contaminated by it anymore. You're mikuing it, you're
Entonces,
that energy.
hay veces tengo que ser más responsable, ¿no?
So you have to have
Pero
a
hay
lot of
veces me
responsibility.
me veo en un círculo tentativo, ¿no? Eh, quiero comer, quiero tomar esto, igual ustedes. Entonces, estas son situaciones que hay que controlarnos, que hay que manejar energías.
So in this situation, we have to learn how to manage these situations, to maintain our health, to know how much to give, how much to take, how much to achieve balance in the situation. But I'll also say that you have to understand that you have to feed yourself first so the cup can runneth over. So the excess of your presence, the excess of your consciousness that may be contaminated by an environment isn't contaminating the energetic core. It's simply washing the pollutants away outside of you. Does that make sense? Your presence, the way you radiate, the way you emanate love is the thing that is not something that you need to worry about, because when the sun shines, it doesn't worry about where the rays land. In the same way, where your consciousness shines, it'll land wherever it needs to land. And many times that lands in opposition to people because they are frightened of the light, because they're frightened of your presence. They may shake and waver because they're not used to presence in the degree you're holding in the supermarket. Yeah.
Y pues para estas situaciones, uno tiene que ser sincero consigo mismo, ¿no? Para su atención, para su energía, para su cuerpo, ¿no? Y ser sincero también con las cosas que están ahí. Esto va a funcionar.
So the functionality of this is that we have to be aware of our consciousness. We have to be aware of our energy. We have to be very observant. Like I have to watch what Jeff is doing all the time. because Jeff is wanting to react from the trauma, get triggered by the absence of his environment, right? But we have to be aware of the cosmic. We are the bridge. We are the child between heaven and earth, right? We are looking horizontally and seeing and observing, and we also have to pay attention to the vertical and create that. And we're the intersection. We're the seventh arrow. We're the ones that embody in a steadfast manner and recognize what is needed and what is not needed. And then when we recognize that we have fallen or become contaminated, then we have to be self-loving to the degree to feed ourselves in such a way, to forgive ourselves in such a way, so that we can go back into the environment again and have a completely different experience, something we've never experienced before.
Entonces, bueno, cuando me encuentro en esas situaciones y otras situaciones, yo digo, ¿no? Pronuncio este código, Willka Kay, Willka Kay. Voy con esta energía, voy con ese pensamiento, voy con esa conciencia. Esto me ayuda mucho.
Mm-hmm. So it's when we go into these situations, we have to realize that it's as easy as saying Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay. It's as easy as saying, where is the light switch? Where is the light switch? Where's, here it is. When you say Willka Kay, you are inviting
Kani o Kay.
Willka Kani
Willka Kay
or
o
Willka
Willka
Kay.
Kay.
Right? Then we'll explain the difference. ¿Qué es la diferencia de Willka Kani y Willka Kay? ¿Es lo mismo?
Willka Kay es propio, ¿no? Estoy diciendo soy sagrado, estoy conectado con la luz, con la Pachamama, los sapos, soy sagrado. Y entonces con esa energía se fluye.
Yeah. So he's saying, I was just asking for his definition of the two, and the Willka Kane is the embodiment. It is the fluid. It's the action of it. Willka Kay is the principle. Willka Kane is the bringing through. It's sitting there
Conexión,
going,
protección.
Willka Kay. So it's basically saying, I'm here, I'm in presence, I need reinforcement, I need connection, so that I can be in consciousness and move through this situation and see it from a place beyond my own reaction, to see it from a place beyond my own limitation. Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay. In Tibet, they say, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Behold the jewel in the flower, the essence, the spirit of the situation. Let me see the light in a given situation. Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay. So when you find yourself going, then just go Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay. And you're calling forth all of the love, all the protection, all the consciousness, so that you as an instrument of consciousness can better engage that which is in front of you without triggering, so that you can overcome the trigger you're having, so that you don't fall into the entrapment of an old pattern. Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay. So just try that a few times. Say it out loud, please. Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay. And so when you're in that situation, people will say, oh, just count to 10 before you react. And what we're saying in the same way is Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay. Show me the essence. Give me the strength. And see what he's doing with this.
Entonces, Willka Kay, Willka Kay. Soy la luz. Soy hija de la Pachamama, de los apos.
And you say, Willka Kay, I am the son, I am the daughter of the light. Move through me in my presence as I engage this dimension.
Sí. Entonces pasamos a la siguiente hermana, manifiesta igual, ¿sí? Cuenta algo que no le gusta. En esta forma estamos liberando también, estamos desconectándonos de esas escuchas, de esas distracciones, ¿no?
So this is a
Estamos aprendiendo
form.
a manejar energía.
Yeah. When you find yourself in a situation where you're struggling, you don't like something, this is a form, Willka Kay, is a form of liberation, because you're putting your focus not on the struggle or the trigger, but you're turning your focus to the eternal and saying, Willka Kay, I am the light, help me to come through, show me the way, right? And in that way, you're redirecting your consciousness from war to peace, to the eternal fountain of presence.
Y estamos activando la energía Willka. Es una energía como el agua, como el sol, sagrado, puro, y tiene poder.
So you're activating the essence, the energy, the consciousness of Willka, right? And that is like a river, like a flow, the power that moves through you. There's an apu, Wake Willka. in the Andes, and it's the one that oversees all the Alto Messiah's initiations, right? And it is that consciousness, Waka, Willka Kay, Willka Kay.
Ujú. Entonces, ahora vamos con la hermana Rose, cuáles son aquellas cosas que no le dejan, ¿no? Mantenerse en Wilka. Entonces, puede hacer lo similar que yo y adelante, hermana.
Elemento. No entiendo. De Rosa.
La hermana Rose, que haga ese ejercicio, que comparta un poco y
So she's asking
que
you,
termine
Rose,
con la...
which part of
Ujú.
you is, and you'll have to unmute yourself here, which part of you is struggling? Which part of you is in realization? Which part of you is in need of Willka Kay?
Puede prender su,
So
su audio, hermana.
she's asking, Rose, down in Texas there, is asking you to unmute yourself and share where the struggle is. I don't think we can hear you yet, Rose. Where are you?
No hay audio. Está bien. Entonces pasamos a la hermana Claudia.
So he's not able to hear you, Rose, but we're asking Claudia what it is where you find yourself disconnecting or not using this.
In relationship to men, I lose my job.
En relación de los hombres, mi confianza es disparado. Muy bien.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay, I'm having trouble with my screen.
Yeah, me too.
I have trouble with between responsibility and feeling like I'm going to be eaten alive if I take on responsibility. I'm fighting with myself.
That's Marlo. Sounds like a river's in your room there. So ella le dice, es dificultad con responsabilidad de ella y otros. Es poco confuso.
Algo más y cuando termina sales conectando Willka Kay, Pachamama, Apus. Terminas con eso.
So he's saying,
adelante, hermana Rose, continúa.
Yeah, momentito. So he's saying for both of you and all of us, when you find yourself in those situations, Claudia, with relating to men or relating to yourself and which is mine and which isn't mine, that's where, when you're in those intersections, that's where you go into Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kane. I am the son of consciousness. I am the daughter of consciousness. Show me the way. And that is completely opposite to the Western approach, which is I'm going to use my mind to develop a strategy to maximize my protection at the expense of everybody, but I'm going to be hurting myself the most in the violence of separation and independence, right? So take a deep breath and realize that the vulnerability that you express in the surrender into the holiness of God, if you want to call it that, right? Into the collective love, the force of the universe, Willka Kay, is the form. I don't know how to make this decision right now. So let me understand it through my surrender to this war that I'm about to create. Let me surrender to the war that I'm about to create. Yeah.
Disculpe, hermano. Cada hermana que describa esas distracciones, aquellas cosas, y después termina con Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay. Nosotros pasamos otra hermana, cada uno,
Sí, sí, sí,
así
sí.
para poder fluir todos. Ujú.
Exactamente.
Gracias, hermano.
So he wants to go through each of us. We'll go to Yanni since you're over here on the left one. Where is it that you find yourself? You have to unmute. So each one of us will mute and unmute. Where is it that you find yourself in idling at an intersection, not knowing which way to turn or where to go back?
I procrastinate in receiving the good that is right smack in front of me.
Ella es en un proceso de procrastinación, de recibir las cosas buenas enfrente de ella.
Sí.
Thank you. Thank you. So in that space, then there's that Willka Kay. Allow me to
Willka Kay.
to receive
Con la
this.
mano, con la mano.
Willka Kay.
With the hands like this.
Willka Kay.
Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay.
Willka Kay. Right here.
Con fuerza, abierto.
Yeah. Sitzel.
Añay. Gracias.
Thank you.
Panachay.
Hi.
Siguiente, Panachay, Amanda.
No,
Do
it's
you hear me?
Sitzel ahora. Sitzel.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Well, for me, it is my relationship with myself. I am afraid of my inner power, I think.
Es un condition de relación de ella. Es todo. Ella tiene miedo de poder. Es confuso. So when you run into that again in all of us, there is the place for Willka Kay. Let me not give away my power to the guru. Let me not give away my power to this, but allow me to be bolstered in my life power through the presence of another. And that helps the relationship with the men, the women, and ourselves. Yeah. ¿Algo más, Willka?
Repite Willka Kay con la técnica.
So go ahead and bring it down to your heart. So
No le escucho, hermana. No le escucho.
So bring your hands down. Willka Kay. Yeah. Muy bien.
Gracias, Panachay. Siguiente.
So next, Amanda.
Panachay, Amandita.
Aña, hermano Tupac, Mamanchik. I feel scared to trust the vulnerability of being woman, of being open and soft, and letting myself be in the world in that way.
You want to say that in Spanish for him?
Estoy con miedo sobre el suavecito de soy mujer con mi vientre, con mi corazón, para compartir esta vulnerabilidad con comunidad, con humanidad, y para abrir en una manera profundamente. Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay. Añay.
Gracias, hermana Amanda. Siguiente, hermana.
So do you see how whenever we come to an intersection of confusion or pain or realization what we're doing, how profoundly simple it is to use the codicy to just hit neutral from the spin of the mind and to open to something new. So let's go down. Let's go over to, I'm thinking you're in Austria, Anna. You want to chime in? Nice to see you.
Yeah. So I get annoyed by people quite a lot. And I'm afraid of like dropping it all. Like really, yeah.
It's going to live in the forest.
If I follow my urge, I would be far away out in nature on my own, probably.
So para
So
ella,
I'm annoyed by a lot of people.
yeah, para ella la distracción es otras personas, de movimientos de conciencia, de acciones de otras personas. Y para ella de preferencia es para vivir en árboles, en muy distancia, en natura.
Sí, tengo miedo de lose it all.
Yeah. So
De perder.
in that space, let's see how you can bring in the Willka Kay and just be like blessings that they,
Kani, Willka Kay, Willka Kay.
beautiful. And realize that for all of us, those reflections that are around us are showing us the part of us where we're not loving, we're disturbed by the parts of ourselves, and we're still trying to leave ourselves and run away from ourselves and live at a distance from ourselves. So that reflection is powerfully painful at times. And at the same time, when we have the urge that we do need a break and have retreat, then we need to do that. So thank you, Ana.
Añañe panachay Ana. Gracias, hermana. Siguiente hermano o hermana.
So hang on, I'm moving. I hit your button by mistake again, Ana. Lambert. And Lambert, I just want to thank you for being the lone XY chromosome in the bunch here as a deep honoring and how you can hold the space for the 11 women that are on either side of you. Thank you.
For me, struggling between the way to earth and way to the spirits, to find my way between them.
Para ella es difícil para el camino en la tierra y con espíritus. Para ella es dos. Y para él es necesito juntos ya. So what I was just saying to him is to recognize it's one, heaven and earth. And for all of us to realize it's not heaven or earth. It's not male or female. It's not wrong or right. It's not left or right. It's and. A lot of people speak in terms of but. Da 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 da, but da 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 da. No, da 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 and da 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 da. It's collective. We have to realize that this. And so if you can do the Willka Kay and realize, help me to remember that I am walking heaven on earth and I'm walking earth into heaven or something like that. So let's give that a shot and see how that feels. Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay. And all of us to do that. Yeah. Sí.
Gracias, hermano. Gracias, hermano, por tu fuerza, por ese corazón.
Thank you for your force. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for your willingness. And Tammy.
Siguiente, hermana.
Yeah, Tammy.
Hermana Tommy.
Thank you. And I hope to bring it all out and not pretend that it's not there. Everything below my heart has been shut down. And I know that relates to my abundance and my health, because that's where my health problems lie. And my problems lie in being shut down by other people from birth in religion to being shut down by abuse by men, and then allowed abuse in a marriage that lasted too long, and working myself up through it, finding success, only to be pushed down again, and wondering where in the world I got the inclination that I was not worthy, because I can see through these teachings that I indeed am as worthy as all the people, and entirely grateful for these teachings, but still stuck like there was a big rock right from my heart all the way down, all the way down. And I do practice the releasing. And that was difficult to say, very difficult to say, but I've known that for some time. And it just makes me shake to feel that I can't seem to move forward and clear it through. Because at sometimes I am so connected. I have the feeling I talk to the trees, the crystals, everything, and I'm so connected. And then winter comes and I'm stuck in my bedroom because of the situation I'm in. So thank you. Willka Kay.
So muchos probables diferentes ejemplos, pero la condición principal es bloqueado en nivel de corazón. Ella tiene experiencia con trauma y otras cosas sexuales y con hombres, etcétera, etcétera. Pero es fácil para hablar con los árboles o cristales o otras cosas. Pero el problema es en este tiempo, cuando la temperatura es frío, es bloqueado interior.
Añay, Orpillay, Tami. Repite uno más. Willka Kay, profundo, con fuerza, para que escuche los cosmos.
So, un momentito, una cosa. So, recognize, as we all do, that it's all self-created, right? And it's so easy to talk to the trees or the animals or the crystals, but it's hard to talk to ourselves because we haven't had that relationship or that connection for a long time. And so we find ourselves in repetitive patterns that are giving us the opportunity to do something different, but we fall victim to the same thing. Sometimes it's with our husbands, right? And through the kindness for someone else, we wind up not being kind to ourselves. And so sometimes it's difficult. I'll share a story of a friend the other day that spoke to me of an animal that she has that is very wild and difficult and dangerous. And in a same type of situation, there was, what do I do with this trauma that I carry, And so I made the suggestion, well, maybe, if you feel that the animal needs to be put down for a danger to themselves and others, that maybe it is time that you do it yourself, which caused a very deep reaction, right? And then came the realization of the healing that is in the action of stopping the danger to myself and stopping, and really the mercy that you experience of letting go so that you don't have to hide in your bedroom any longer. The mercy that this spirit who is wildly abused and enraged and out of control can transcend. And so that Willka Kay has given me the strength, give me the power, show me how to be in connection with my womb again, so that I can transcend this rock that's in my heart. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that just takes courage. Not just takes courage, but it takes action. It takes all that. So blessings. Yeah. Who else? Let me cruise around the thing here. We have, let's do Isa. Did we do Isa? No.
Hola.
Hola.
Hola. Hola, hermano.
Isa, qué alegría ver la hermana de mucho
Qué
tiempo.
alegría que también. Mucho tiempo. Para mí, me siento enojada con la estupidez de las personas la mayoría del tiempo. Y me siento enojada con mi esposo, con mi trabajo, con todo el mundo.
Say that in English for
Y
everybody
siempre
else too.
estoy with everybody. I'm just pissed. And I just have to get out of being so pissed off all the time.
So the first part of that is you find yourself reactive and pissed to people around you, your husband, all this.
Yeah, and stupid people.
And stupid people.
And stupid people. But so I'm working through that. And so I will go into my prayer and say, Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay.
Yeah. And really, I want to invite all of us to recognize how we're reacting to the part of ourselves that we judge as being stupid. And deep bow to everybody that reflects that for us in our lives. And then the hard work of saying, oh, wait, I honor myself, as Sid said. I honor myself, as Tammy says. I honor myself, as Yanni says. Right? Do you see the commonality of the human experience? We're in a very difficult time because the world appears very stupid right now. Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay.
Añay, panachay sa. Añay. Es panachay. Siguiente hermana.
Right.
Siguiente hermana.
Yeah, we have tres más. Ana, de Holanda.
Adelante, panachay. Anita.
Go ahead, spiritual sister.
It's with a retired teacher I'm taking care of, and confusion going on there, and it's making me scared.
So es problema.
And I don't know what to do.
Un otro hombre, es un profesor, he es confuso, y es una condición de amor o no amor. It's confusion de servicio de otro y conflicto de servicio de mí. I said it's a conflict between service to self and service to another.
Of course.
Yeah. So go ahead and down here in your heart and really bring your hands and just and saying again, Willka Kay, realizing that there's always a balance between service to others and service to self. And realize that the greatest gift that we can give is the filling our cup and allowing everything that is excess of our fullness to spill over. The cup runneth over, and others can partake of that. It's a little bit different with our children in a way, but in general, whether you're a teacher or whatever you are, especially with elderly, there's a giving that you allow the Willka, the consciousness, to flow through you, and then there's no degradation of your being in that. And the only way we discover that is to get angry at all the stupid people or not give ourselves what we need or all the other reality conflicts, blockages of the hearts that we're hearing here. So recognize that's the lead that you turn to gold. Willka Kay, Willka Kay. Yeah. And most especially when...
Ana, gracias, hermana.
All right, let's go over to Ireland and Mara.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, thank you both. I am struggling with being in despair, actually, at humanity, the despair around humanity, and also shame about being a human being. And that is blocking the joy from being in my life. Yeah.
Es una gran distracción de humanidad, porque la condición de humanidad es mucho loco, ¿ya? Y para ellas es una gran distracción, es bloqueado de alegría. Es difícil para ella. So just take a deep breath into that. And for all of us, I just like to comment that it is so easy to focus on the teacher, take another breath and bring it in. Have such disparity for human actions, for the stupidity, for the violence, for the opposition, the war, the competitive warring of which team you're on, the continual distraction of that. And realize that it is quite simply, and I say this with all my heart, the part of ourselves we still reject. And so if you can get into the Willka Kay, help me to find my center each time I'm triggered, and recognize that each soul is here incarnating to run into themselves and each other, to rape and pillage, to have war, to find love, over and over and over again, to clear the karmic patterns until we come to a higher frequency, and we are in that process. So be careful of the distractions. Very careful. Because we are basically finding reasons to sabotage ourselves, usually unbeknownst to ourselves. And that realization and that self-love is profound. And that'll bring a lot of tears. And it'll bring a lot of self-care and a lot of like, I just need to rest and I need to stop whatever's not working. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Anay panachay. Mara, anay panachay.
Yeah.
Siguiente, hermana.
Yeah. And then Marlo. We can't hear you.
No le escuchamos.
All we hear is static. It sounds, it's quiet now. Do you want to, can you go into, the audio is not working, so let's mute yourself and go into chat and chat. Mute you there. Just write what it is in the chat, if you can do that. Let's see if I can find you. There we go. Chat. There we go. See if that works. A is cansado, de miedo de todos, y en condition solito. No contacto.
En silencio, ella misma puede decir Willka Kay.
So we ask you in silence to bring this, Marlo, to bring this, to bring this forgiveness and just call it in, because there's the mind that's there you go. And what I'd like to say to all of us is that the part of our dis-ease, our fears, our fear of being a fool and being alone, is the divine part of us that's getting our attention, that we're operating out of balance. And so instead of looking at it as a negative, look at it as an opportunity and use this technique as a means to give us a breather from the incessant part of our mind that keeps reacting or keeps giving ourselves away, that keeps thinking everybody's stupid. Everything that we've all said, it's either heaven or earth, it's either this or that. Humanity is the problem. This teacher is the problem. You know, the reality is that all of this has brought us to a point where we say, this doesn't work. And the whole point of doing this offering is to say, try this will work. And so dedicate yourself to it, you know, invest in it, put a value to it, take it to the teacher, take it to humanity, take it to heaven and earth, take it to the places where you're alone, and just use the technique to remember who you are and go like, let's do something different today, shall we? Let's not get pissed at the husband or whatever, or humanity. Let's take care of myself. Let's honor myself, because I keep keeping that at a person. It's easy to take care of others, but it's hard to take care of myself. And in that, I feel alone. And I struggle financially, and I don't make enough to, you know, da-da-da-da-da-da. But I also, Marla, I want you to realize, as you reached out and asked for support, right, you were met. Not by me or by him, but by the universe, right? And so recognize that when you ask for self-care and support in that, Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay, it's going to show up in the manner in which you need, always. And if it's not, it's because the prayer isn't in right relationship. It's in opposition, it's in judgment, it's in selfishness, surface to self. And so the irony in all this, Willka Kay, is allow myself to be full, maybe so self-full, so that I can show up so much more profoundly for the older teacher, for humanity, for everything else outside of us. And there may be times there where you find yourself, like up in Canada, where you have to fill the glass. You have to ask the one that is troubling you to leave, to find their way, because that's what's needed. And those are tough decisions where you take it in your hand and you carry that essence of consciousness, that being, across the rainbow bridge into death, of the idea that you carry, of the trauma that you carry, of the recurrent situations that you carry, when all you want is to be loved and love. And this is up to you. And this way allows you to be in that way. And it's so simple that we Westerners think it'll never work. And yet this has been a time-tested codicy from time immemorial. One of the basic foundations, paving stones of our reality. So, ¿algo más, Willka Kay?
Añay, panachay, marro. Gracias. ¿Alguien más falta? ¿Todo sí?
Todo. Está bien con todo.
Willka Kay, para terminar, Willka Kay es un mandato, es una disciplina, es una conexión, un poder del lenguaje cósmico o de los seres.
So to complete this, Willka Kay, it is a way, a principle, a language, a practice. You can, momentito, so that you can embody your celestial presence, your godliness, your divinity in the density on earth, while you're in reflection to the disparaged, disconnected elements of our world. This is a principle that allows you to call forth the light to illuminate the path in front of you, so you don't fall victim to your own fears and self-rejection.
Significa como quien dice un ser, ¿no? Sé sagrado, cambia, purifícate, límpiate, transfórmate, trasciende.
It helps you transcend and purify. It helps you to move through the obstacle that you find in your own projection, your own mind, your own perspective. It is a spirit, a consciousness, a form, Willka Kay, just like I would call Tupac, and ask him for his assistance to help lift this and carry it across the room. I call upon Willka Kay for the energy and the consciousness that it provides to help me alleviate the burden of my own being, of my own finding things to get pissed off at. You know what I mean?
Quiere decir, ábrete.
So it opens.
Conéctate, reconéctate con todo lo sagrado. Acepta lo sagrado. Acepta la luz.
To all the light. Allow yourself to be the filament in the light bulb and call forth the energetic of Willka Kay to illuminate your filament until such a time you realize that there's no difference between you and the collective consciousness, that the energy that runs through the firmament, the filament, you as a being is creation itself. And then you allow yourself to occupy divinity as the divine itself, the I am. But we're all in the process.
Y tú recibes o dices, Willka Kay, ¿no? Estás confirmando, declarando, si soy la luz, voy a ser la luz, voy a cambiar y voy a convertirme en la luz.
To understand
voy a
and
encontrar la luz.
To connect with the luz, to bring it through us, to allow this to come through us as us. Willka Kay, it's the key that opens the door. Boom, here's the light. Let it move through us. Let it help me to rejuvenate, to make this change into the new era where we're out of duality.
Willka Kay, es confirmar. Es reconocer, aceptar, que lo vas a hacer.
Accept it.
Que vas a encontrar la luz, te vas a convertir en la luz.
That you can connect with the light, so that you can be the light, so that you can be the water in the river that is your life, instead of in rejection to it or sitting on the riverbank because the flow of your life was disrupted. And so the question is, as a soul, did you not choose to come in and be disrupted or traumatized as you were, so you have the opportunity to reconnect even stronger at this time because that's how we learn. We don't learn, we don't grow from nothing. We grow from friction. We light our fire through rubbing things together. And that's the reality of this third dimensional world we're living in. That is graduating into the fifth and beyond.
Entonces, bueno, no todo hemos descrito, ¿sí? Hay cosas, cada uno tiene más cosas, ¿no? Entonces, todo eso dejamos como tarea, es parte de la práctica. Willka Kay, Willka Kay.
So we
Poco
know
a
there's,
poco tiene que liberarse, desconectarse de todas esas cosas que no hemos dicho todo, ¿sí?
so we know there's a lot more going on and a lot more things to deal with in your life. But we give you this Willka Kay as a practice. And we'd like you to go through for these next 2 weeks until our next gathering and really implement this and use this and see how it removes the blockages that you are constructing in your own mind and the perspective of what's around you. Willka Kay,
Entonces, gracias. Bienvenidos nuevamente a esta clase para continuar. Muchas gracias. Añay. Willka Kay.
Many thanks for all of you for participating in this class, the first of the second series of these classes. We give you much love. We're here for you. Reach out if you need anything. We're your brothers, right? We're not your teachers. We're your brothers. So much love. And Tupac, muchísimas gracias, Anay, para todos. Y para todo la...
a usted, mancha. Solo hasta pronto, ¿sí?
So we'll see you soon. Much love. Have fun out there. Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay, Willka Kay. Holy shit.
Holy shit, concéntrate en Willka Kay.
All right. Much love. We'll see you all soon.